Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we will be discussing episode 3 of What If. Today's episode is pretty spoilerish. I mean, the title itself is kind of a big spoiler, so just watch this episode because the title gives it all away. So, this is the title. What if the world lost its mighty heroes?
Bum bum
That right
bum.
there is that right there is the bump bump bump. That's like the oh shit moment because it's like the title intrigues you, and what do they mean by that? So you get you get your typical watcher explanation, the art, like all that like keyframes where it's like, oh, this is how the original MCU events played, and he's pretty much narrating the fact that hey, in the original timeline, set events happened which led to the formation of the Avengers. You get that iconic shot of all of them in like that one big painting, but then it's like in this reality a new series of events is going to happen, like quite literally, because they start off with Nick Fury and Black Widow pretty much meeting Iron Man. It's like the recreation of the Iron Man scene from Iron Man 2, where he's up at the
That was like
donut.
almost identical.
Exactly, even the lines beat for beat, and the lines for beat were identical. And I wanted to say, I don't think they used the voice actor for the new Tony Stark, or at least the stand-in for Robert Downey Jr. in this episode, because when you hear the lines, right, it just feels like what they did was,
Yeah, they sound pretty accurate, don't they?
yeah, I think they just might have like gotten the exact same footage, the audio from there, and then they just like, oh, okay, just like place it in the scene, because pretty much the scene plays out beat for beat, so they might as well have just clipped the same audio, just put it together. If nobody knows the scene from Iron Man 2, it's when Nick Fury pretty much meets up with Tony Stark after his kind of like huge debacle, or at least disaster that happened in the Malibu mansion, where he got like pretty drunk, for lack of a better word, because of the fact Iron Man 2 was dealing with that poisoning in his arc reactor. So the scene goes beat for beat where it's like they give him the antidote, so it's like, oh, okay, cool. So even I'm like, oh, okay, it's like it's a real beat for beat story play, and it's
And
like
then he dies.
I was like, yeah, I was like, what the hell? Because I mean, I'm an Iron Man fan to like the core, man. It's not even been two. It's been 2 years, man, and we've had to watch and die twice. Endgame now here. It's like, damn, the brother can't catch a break. I like how they play that. They played the scenes from like what where specific characters like Thor and Iron Man, and with Hulk later in the episode, which we'll get to, of course. They play the scenes exactly, but the twist will come later, where it's like a oh crap, like oh no, like it really makes you go. It makes you feel worried, and like that's what I liked about this episode. There was a sense of stakes. And I don't mean to like criticize this as like a bad thing in terms of the previous episodes, which I think are good in their own rights. But keep in mind, like I think each episode is good because they all tell something distinct. To me, what I liked about this story the most, in my opinion, I think it's because they took more liberties with the story, like the murdering of pretty much the entire
Yeah,
Avengers.
they went further, didn't they?
And they went like further, and I was like, oh my god! I was like, and some deaths are like not even nice. Like they're not like a good send off, like that, like those kinds of deaths, and I really like that. Some are off screen and all that sort of stuff, but like they still did those deaths like in a way that made you feel for the characters that died, because we've grown up with these characters. They're literally the Avengers. It's we've grown up with that team, that roster, those characters for so many years, even in the animation realm. There's still an attachment, right? That scene alone, I was like, oh wow, like I was just like, okay, here we go again, because I'm like, damn, it sucks to like watch Iron Man die again, and that becomes the overarching thread. This becomes a murder mystery, and I like the way this plays out over like a week.
Yeah, it's cool. It's like you get the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah, I liked that as well. It was really cool.
Yeah, yeah. So what happens after that? Because of the fact they're all shocked that Iron Man was dead, because they thought the antidote worked, and then I like the fact that watchers like, so these people were blinded by you know what they were blinded by the actual truth. Pretty much, the watcher almost makes it out as though what they believed to be success turned out to be their ultimate failure, being the antidote. So then Black Widow gets framed with air quotes, and she gets kidnapped by Shield agents, but more specifically, people, she gets kidnapped by Frank Grillo. I think that's the actor's name, or maybe that's the character's name.
Yeah, yeah. He had like a tiny cameo.
The character of Crossbones is called Brock Rumlow, and people, if you don't know who that character was in the latest in this episode of What If, episode 3, he is Crossbones, and he was Crossbones in Civil War, but he was prominently featured in Civil War in that elevator scene. and they almost do something to a T like that scene, but it's just in the van, and Black Widow's pretty much straight up going Ip Man on them, man. She's doing like rapid punch, like like that, like the like machine gun type punches. There was like a bit of comedy that, but the action was like cool. I like the way they balanced that and the way they built that out. I think Black Widow gets kidnapped. She's like, they can't hold me, and Nick Fury's like, I know. So it's like he
Yeah.
lets her know because he's like, I know you're like the most competent person in the world. So like he knows that. So her getting kidnapped was like another way for him to get the information he needed for the murders that were gonna happen later on. Someone pointed out, or at least some YouTube videos I watched, pointed out that Brock Rumlow or Crossbones, right? Still in the Shield agent phase. He mentions Pierce, like reference to Aiden Pierce from the Winter Soldier movies.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a cool little nod because it's like it almost references the fact like Shield was still there, or Hydra was like slowly but surely seeping their fingers into Shield, but no one noticing it yet. Before I don't want to be the chatterbox throughout this one. So what did you think for like this like sort of starting phase with that whole Iron Man 2 recreation, then the twist coming out, seeming as though Black Widow was the quote unquote killer, but that knowing that someone's behind the strings overall. So like what did you think of this sort of like beginning, almost leading us into what the episodes, or at least what this episode is setting out to
I
do?
liked it. I thought it was good. Just the whole episode didn't have as much emotion as like the second one. It was definitely more of an action-packed episode, but I liked how like it was the twist on all the scenes we'd seen before.
I will say, well, maybe I'm not sure whether this is going to be like a follow up point. Nick Fury was more. I like the fact that I mean Nick Fury is a very. I would say depending on the movie he's in, I would say Nick Fury is a very underutilized character in terms of the MCU. But seeing him here, even in the realm of animation, being voiced by Samuel L. Jackson itself, so it gives that authenticity. It's so glad to hear Nick Fury again. So like I'm glad we're getting more Nick Fury, or at least him in that more of a leading man role, which I really liked, and especially his supporting cast as well, like Phil Coulson being played by Clark Gregg.
The original guy,
Yeah, Clark Gregg, the OG Phil Coulson himself, and I thought that was really cool because I mean like it's been so long. Hearing Clark Gregg and hearing that performance and their dynamic still is like the same from like what Avengers 1 and however many films they were together. So I'm glad that those two kind of shed the scene sometimes, and that you're able to explore more with these like more unfamiliar characters, or like the more side support characters like Nick Fury, who I think is very underutilized. Because like in some movies, they really do at least give Nick Fury some depth. They give him like attention, or at least give him like a few action sequences like Winter Soldier. I think his character there like gets shine, and I thought like here it's almost reminiscent of like Nick Fury having that kind of moments. He has those moments which I really enjoyed. So I appreciate that they actually like took the time, or maybe like, or at least his introduction, or at least his inclusion into the story doesn't feel out of place, because he's literally the guy that set this Avengers thing up. So for his own contingency plans to go to fail, it means he has to step up and work out who is literally dismantling my plans. And I like the fact, even though I will say you don't feel the emotions because maybe sometimes the deaths come and go. You did kind of feel the fact, like I felt a bit more emotional because of the fact that this was something crucial. It felt like the fact that it was crucial, and I mean I don't want to spoil it, but towards the end you see how crucial the Avengers actually are, because it really leaves the world in such a vulnerable state. They did the Thor scene, right? So it's pretty much a Thor 1 thing. Thor, he's coming back for the Mjolnir. We get Jeremy Renner, which is cool.
It
But
is, yeah. Now we also get the wow, his hair. Oh my
yeah, that was a bit weird. Yeah, I will say, I'm like, I even like the follow up joke to that when like Hawkeye. It's literally like the exact same scene from Thor 1 2, when technically, if people didn't know, Hawkeye was actually in Thor 1. He was like the guy that was about to kill Thor, at least shoot Thor, but he got the order to stand down. And this, it's pretty much the same thing beat for beat as well. That cameo scene. The thing is though, Hawkeye, he slips.
Yeah.
And it's really weird because it's like, even though you may have a general, just at least a quote unquote sense of who the killer is, you're still unsure, because it's like, could they be the ones pulling this? And I mean, damn. I mean, I thought Thor was strong. He took a arrow to the heart. I mean, don't get me wrong, an arrow to an heart would kill anybody, but that's something I guess. Did you question that? Because I was like, Thor is a god, right? Is he like mortal? Because they never established that. Because he's never had that vulnerability.
Well, because he didn't have his hammer.
Yeah, okay, maybe they're still playing off of that Thor 1. Okay, yeah, because I'm not thinking of like the climax of Thor 1 when like the destroyer just like pretty much like bitch slaps him across the like across the street and he's just down for the count. But to me, I just kind of never thought because I remember that one scene from Avengers, like when Thor's fighting Loki and Loki stabs him. So I thought maybe as Guardian stuff, people can kill each other, like only those of like the same being, not like regular Earth stuff. Like that's what I thought. But hey, Thor takes a hit to the chest, like quite literally a shot through the heart. Hawkeye gets locked up. Yeah, he gets locked up, right? Or at least like yeah, he gets locked up because of like they all believed he killed Thor. And then the thing is, right, it's a bit harsh because of the fact like they got Barton, right? So they're like, hey Barton, we need to like question you and all that. But Clint's dead. His body just drops, and it's like a WTF moment because it's like
Yeah.
what the hell is going on? Because of the fact these murders keep happening like that and like that and like that. And the moment those murders happen, and you get that after action report where I would say the Hawkeye death kind of hit me. It kind of hit me because of the fact they acknowledged that. Well, Nick Fury acknowledges that Clint would never go out like this because of the fact he has a kid, he has a family, he has a wife. He would never do this. It's like the light bulb moment in your brain where it's like, oh my god, I remember he has a family because I remember watching Age of Ultron. So I like how they also find a way to make you remember certain story threads or at least like previous movies. So I thought that was a nice touch. But yeah, it's kind of sad because like, oh yeah, Hawkeye had a family. Imagine what they're gonna think. Damn, bro, like it sucks to be Hawkeye, like just because it just dies like that. Then they smell Thor's body, which is a bit weird because it's like
Yeah. Even in death, he smells good.
we know you like Captain America, but we didn't know you like sniffing dead corpses. I was like, Jesus Christ. We get the Incredible Hulk. Like the same events of Incredible Hulk, I think. Black Widow meets up with Betty Ross. So they investigate the antidote that killed Tony. And she comes to the conclusion that a small projectile must have exited the antidote and killed Tony because the antidote didn't even come close to Tony's neck at the time, and it wasn't delivered. Fury gives the call to Nat, and he's like, Barton's dead. She has a moment. She has that kind of moment to grieve because of or she has that moment of sadness because that duo of like Hawkeye and Black Widow, it's like inseparable. It's like such a dynamic duo. Those two have such a good connection, and I thought even though that dynamic wasn't necessarily explored more in this episode, you at least still felt the dynamic through like Natasha's like emotions and her actions. Turns out, and then Nick Fury's like, the killer's coming after you and Dr. Banner, and she's like, I think I may have found it because she sees the pizza clothes like on the table of the science lab, and she's like, "Oh yeah, that's him." And then she goes for the door, and then Betty's like, "No, don't open the door," and all that. And then Mark Ruffalo, who pretty much became the stand-in for Edward Norton, is like, "No, it's okay, peace." I like the fact that Hulk, like Bruce Banner, is just the guy's like he's such a calm guy. He's like, "Hey guys, let's not do this, please. Let's just do what we have to do." You know what I mean? And it's just like so funny. You got Mark Ruffalo again, so I thought it was pretty. I like Mark Ruffalo's Bruce Banner. It's like that kind of cowardly comedy, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, that's funny.
But you get that kind of shy / scaredness because of the fact he's the Hulk, so he doesn't want to do things the hard way. So he's like, "It's okay, Natasha Romanoff, I'll follow you." But then we get the Incredible Hulk scene again. What happened is they did a mirror for both the scenes because what happened was I think when they did the Incredible Hulk scene, we get Coulson and he's like, he's driving down to like the Shield base, I think, and then the entire Asgardian army comes to Earth, and it's like, oh crap. So you get that moment where like Loki, he does his introduction. I'm Loki, Prince of Asgard, and all that, and he says, "I'm come here to avenge my brother," because of the fact he's heard the news that the Prince of Asgard is not dead, and the whole warriors and all the Thor's best friends that got killed off in like Thor Ragnarok in like 5 seconds. The only person that got a speaking line was Jamie Alexander, and it was only like one line, and I was like, what was she in it for then? She just says one line in this entire episode. I mean, I don't mean to be offensive, but like I find her Loki cameo more better than her cameo in here.
Yeah, you're so right.
Because she just says one line. That's the last you hear from her ever or any other of the Asgardians, because it's just Loki then. It's pretty much a recreation of the Incredible Hulk scene where like he's just tearing up all those like military vans, but then the twist is Hulk is starting to become an inflatable balloon. I was like, what the hell's going on? And she like really confused, but then at the same time you're like, oh no, it's the killing. It's like that. It's the killing happening, like that type of thing. Because before it transforms, it's set out to look like it's a bullet shot or at least a sniper. And even Thunderbolt Ross goes, "Hey, did any of our men fire?" And then it's like, "No, all clear, sir. We didn't pull the trigger and all that sort of stuff." And then it's like he explodes like Nickelodeon slime, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, I didn't like that. I thought that was weird.
I know for a kids, I know like what if it's like a bit of a kid show? It's a bit toned down, but you have to admit that's some scary stuff. Like imagine watching that. Like imagine watching the Hulk explode. And this whole almost comes to the fact that like Betty's crying because of the fact like no one has ever really killed the Hulk. And if you think about it, Hulk can't really die. Sure, he's been beaten up to a pulp. Pretty much Thanos knocked Hulk out in Infinity War so badly he didn't even want to show up for the entire movie. That's my take on that. I think we get the scene where is it Black Widow? She goes onto the laptop. She's digging up like any past Shield files and whatnot. It's a quick blink and you'll miss it, but you spot a few names. I think it's Nick Fury, Aiden Pierce, Maria Hill, Phil Coulson, and I think Janet Van Dyne. And you see like the X talking about, or at least that information was showing maybe like the founding like members that set up Shield, perhaps. Janet Van Dyne, like kind of like image of her like being dead, and that's a clue. I mean, that's like one of those like implicit type of clues that makes you go like, wait a minute. And then the thing is, Black Widow knows she's being stalked up on, but she's getting her ass handed to her just left and right. And I was like, Jesus, whoever is like this person, whoever this is, they mean business because of the fact like Black Widow's being thrown across like the shelves, like the bookshelves. She's being thrown up across like up the walls, and it's like, man, she's taking such a beating. But the quote that for me it tricked me actually was hope. It's all about hope, and then it cuts because of the fact that that's supposed to signal to us viewer that Natasha's dead. And Nick Fury, and we get Nick Fury back in the town in Thor 1. He's in like one of the diners and he's replaying that message over and over and over again. You get Phil Coulson saying, "Sir, the Avengers aren't dead yet because you are the last member." And it's like oh crap. Like it's actually something I feel like is a bit new, and it's something that came out of the blue that Nick Fury is somewhat a member of the Avengers. Because if you think about it, he founded it, so it would make sense why he's the last one that is going to be killed off. And I thought that was pretty cool.
And then he bargains, doesn't he?
Yeah, no, before the bargain, he quickly goes to his car because he has the pager, and it's like you have that kind of like, oh
It's the
yeah,
pleasure, yeah.
because he has that pager, so he keeps it with him everywhere. My only thing is, and I think that's a bit of a, I like how there was nothing in that cabinet. It was just that pager, like no books, no papers, no like receipts from like whatever like McDonald's he went to or whatnot. Just there. It's just something funny to me that I just found weird. I like how it's just there. No one has touched it. It's just in a car cabinet,
Yeah.
just with nothing covering it. But that's besides the point. You get a destroyer, although he just stands for a minute, and he's just dead. Nick Fury goes like, "Hey, I need to talk to your boss." And then Nick Fury goes to the grave
Yeah.
of Hope. It's from earlier. I thought Hope was the killer because you know why? Because when I saw the X on the image of Janet Van Dyne, I thought she was going to avenge her mother's death because that's what happened because of Shield.
Yeah, same. I was thinking that as well. It seemed like the perfect
Yeah,
thing.
and then turns out no, it's Hope's grave that Nick Fury goes to, and we get Yellow Jacket, but not Darren Cross or whatever that villain from Ant-Man 1 was. We get Michael Douglas playing the Yellow Jacket role, and while people, I'm not sure about you, George, but while people, I understand it's not something you like, or it's not maybe a take of the Ant-Man you're not really fond of. I'm glad that Marvel actually, how do I say, they acknowledge that in this episode, that kind of darker side of Ant-Man. Whatever medium, they do tackle that side of Ant-Man. The Michael Douglas Ant-Man / Hank Pym, he dons that role because he's had so much taken away from him. His wife and his own daughter, Hope, died in some mission for S.H.I.E.L.D. People are possibly saying it's a connection to Winter Soldier because Nat references a mission she did in Russia, Odessa. People are speculating that maybe it's that same event Natasha was talking about, but Winter Soldier ended up killing Hope instead. Just a theory, or at least a somewhat speculative Easter egg. It's the reveal that Hank Pym was behind every string of the murders, from Hulk to Iron Man to Hawkeye to Black Widow, or everyone. And the way you see the killings happen, it's like that makes sense. The way he does them, it's like it makes sense because he's using those Ant-Man abilities.
Yeah, I did. I did. What I didn't like about this episode is how would he know to kill Thor? Like, why? Also, like, why was he be there?
Did he like? I think I'm trying to remember it because I remember they showed that moment of Hawkeye like holding the bow, but I think he fights.
Yeah, but he says it's because he says it's like, oh yeah, because I knew you were going to recruit him. Like, how do you know he's going to be there in the first place?
Yeah, I mean I noticed too, and I really don't know what to like back up for that. The one that I found really genius, or at least like sadistic yet genius, was when he threw the discs. Because in Ant-Man he has those discs, and the blue discs are for doing more larger, for turning things into large, right? And he throws the disc into Hulk's heart, and it's like, oh wow, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
And then we get like a Nick Fury fight scene with Yellow Jacket, and then it's like pretty cool. But at the same time, I'm like, Samuel L. Jackson ain't gonna be doing that because however many years old he is, he cannot do that. So they giving him this realm of animation to do all the flips, kicks, and all that. People are like, why is Nick Fury swatting him so easily, as though he can see him? Because Nick Fury is not like some has sixth sense or whatever, and the way he's doing it's like with ease.
he's like swatting them away. Yeah.
But then you realize Nick Fury's like everywhere at once, which leads into the twist of it was Loki. Loki was the guy duplicating himself. If there's one thing I will say about story consistency, or at least something they did consistent with this episode, he does that. He does that really scary cackle. If you put some white paint and some red lips over Tom Hiddleston animated Loki, he looks like the Joker. He's so menacing. Even certain shots when he does a grin, I'm just like, my boy, you trying to audition for Joker? Because I think you're nailing it right now with that maniacal laugh. Because there is no Avengers, Loki just walks through the halls of the UN and he declares Earth/Midgard as a part of Asgard's rule, or under Loki's rule.
Yeah.
And Loki utters the same words, and Loki utters the same words to the people in the Avengers movie when he's like, you all kneel before me and all that sort of stuff, and he's like, you were made to be ruled. Like, I'm pretty sure they recited those lines beat for beat, but then we get like a little like secret. We get a secret funeral for all the Avengers, and it's kind of like sad.
Yeah. Or hidden away.
Yeah, and it kind of sucks because if you think about it, the people like they all knew won't even know where their bodies are being held. Like for example, like and this just dawned upon me right now. Like imagine what Pepper's gonna be thinking in this story. What is Rhodey gonna be thinking? Where's Tony? It doesn't make you think of that immediately, but after watching it, you kind of go like, oh my god, what are they gonna think about Tony because they don't know he's dead and they did like a secret funeral. It's sad because of the fact like now this new world, since there was no Avengers, Loki was able to rule everybody with an iron fist with such ease.
Yeah.
And then we get the end credits where you get the Watcher uttering, even though the world was was grim and all that sort of stuff, Nick Fury still had his good eye and hope still never died. And they do the first Avengers scene from Captain America where Nick Fury uncovers, or at least like him in the frozen ice, because they show that shield, him wiping the ice off that shield, and then he says, "Glad to have you back, Captain." When Nick Fury literally turns to his left, like on your left, you see Captain Marvel, and she's ready to gear up, and that's where the episode ends. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So I just wanted to ask you overall, what did you think of this episode?
I really liked it, but like I still think I preferred the episode before with T'Challa, but it was still good.
I mean, I know we can't do rankings because the series hasn't even like fully been out yet. But to me, I would say in terms of like, what would you say for your like first 3 episodes, like your rankings? Would you say what would you place them?
I would say T'Challa, Avengers, then Peggy. I mean, they were all good, but like that's just my ranking.
I don't know. For me, I would say yours. Like, your rating would be mine to a certain extent, but like I don't know why something about this episode was a bit more entertaining because I think I like the fact they took more liberties with the story. They like pushed for certain boundaries. Like, of course, you can't really do in the movies, but they did tackle certain stories, which I found were really fascinating. Like story about what if the Avengers weren't even assembled? What does that lead to? And I like that ending where Nick Fury's pretty much recruiting the scraps. Like he's pretty much recruiting whatever's left of heroes in the world right now. So far it's just only like Captain Marvel and Captain America, and that's like something that kind of fascinates me as well because it's like it's a story actually I would really want to see continue, like maybe possible season 2, like it's a follow-up story. and I don't know why. Maybe it's just a one-off, but it's one of those endings where I'm like really interested as to how you would continue that story going forward. Like, do the Avengers ultimately end up winning? Do they not? Like, does the same outcome happen? Like, I don't know. It's interesting to me. I would say maybe episode 3 would be my number one. And after that would follow T'Challa, and then after that would follow the Peggy Carter one. Just because I didn't really like the Peggy Carter one. I like the T'Challa one more.
I liked it, but it wasn't the best.
Yeah, it wasn't the best, but I mean, yeah. And overall, episode 3, I would say What If so far has been continuing to raise the standards, especially with episode 3.
But I did like the episode, yeah.
They're showing that they're taking more genres, more stories, more liberties, and I really like that. More of those kinds of stories, or at least they take more kinds of liberties in the next following episodes after it comes to a conclusion of another great What If episode. So as always, as we say before, please like and subscribe. Share this video with friends, as this helps with the growth of our channel. If there's a bell icon, what do you do, George? If there's a bell icon?
Yeah, hit that bell.
You hit that bell because that immediately notifies you when a video of ours goes up. And as always, take care, rest well, and hope you have a great day. See you all.